walk with me. And as we wander down the crowded street, even if we're shuffling our feet, you make me never want to miss a beat. We're meant to be. And if you lie with me under the sycamore tree, whether we're high or low, there's nowhere else I wanna go. Hold my hand, fall in love with footprints in the sand, and kiss each other while we watch the band. And everyone who knows us understands we're meant to be. And if you lie with me under the sycamore tree, whether we're high or low, there's nowhere else I wanna go. So walk with me as we wander down the crowded street, even if we're shuffling our feet, you make me never wanna miss a beat, never miss a beat. And if you lie with me under the sycamore tree, whether we're high or low, there's nowhere else I wanna go. And if you lie with me under the sycamore tree, whether we're high or low, there's nowhere else I wanna go. So walk with me, walk with me.
Good evening, Cedar Falls. Welcome to tonight's special City Council meeting for Monday, April 6, 2026. Call this meeting in order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Schultz.
Here.
Latta.
Here.
Nagel.
Here.
Hallbaker.
Here.
Fairbanks. Chrisman.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Councilmember Fairbanks absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moves us to special order of business. Item number 1 is a public hearing on the proposed FY 2027 property tax rate for the City of Cedar Falls. Do I have a motion to receive and file proof of publication of the meeting?
So moved.
Motion and seconded. Madam Clerk, oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, any written communications?
I have no written communications.
Thank you. And for staff comments, we have Director Jen Rodenbach. Jen.
Thank you. So tonight, just as Mayor Pro Tem said, this is the hearing we're required to have for tonight. Don't have to make any motions tonight. It's really just a hearing. So where we are in the budget process, as many of you know, this can be a long process. So as you can see, we're nearing the end there, but April is where we hold 2 public hearings, and then we do have our deadline of April 30th. Why there's 2 different hearings is tonight is the hearing on the actual property tax rate. The hearing, the second meeting in April, will be the actual to approve the budget and the final approval. So, I'm gonna unplug this, maybe. No, it doesn't like that either. Okay. Doesn't like anything. Doesn't like anything. We'll just see if we'll start it again, maybe. Okay. All right, so again, 2 hearings. So tonight on the proposed property tax rate. So this is for people who received the letter in the mail. As we said, those go out in March. And so this is that hearing on the rate. This is requirement under House File 718 that was passed a couple years ago by the state of Iowa. And then on April 20th will be the second hearing. This hearing tonight must have its own meeting. That was part of the requirements. It's has to be at a special time. No other city business can be discussed in the same meeting. Only one item can be on the agenda. Don't have to do a resolution. It really is a hearing on the full property tax rate. And the hearing must be published no less than 4, not more than 20 days prior to the hearing. And that was done on March 24th. Must be posted to the website and social media no later than the publication. This was actually done on February 18th. You may remember back on February 16th is when you set that kind of max rate and set all that, and then we got it right out on our social media sites and website right after that. The budget adoption hearing, so that second hearing, cannot be set until this hearing is said and completed. So you'll see later on tonight's agenda, you'll see to set that the second meeting for the second meeting in April, which is April 20th. So I'm not going to go through the whole presentation that I did last time again. I know most of you heard all this, but I just thought that it might be nice to just touch on a few things, just for, if nothing else, for our maybe viewing audience or our public to just hear kind of some recaps again. So one of the things, again, that I always like to talk about is just a reminder that your property tax bill is made up of a few different things. It's your valuation, the rollback, and the tax rate. Valuations for this year. For residential property, there was a countywide reassessment of 10%. So again, if your house was valued at $100,000, now it's at $110,000. If it was $200,000, it's $220,000. And again, that's an average, and they do that every other year. The county does. The next thing is the rollback. Rollback is set by the state. And so for this year, for our fiscal year 27, the commercial rollback will remain at 90%. So that's been the same. You can see that it used to be for years and years was 100%. Back in FY15 is when they put that in, where they rolled it down to 95, and now it's been consistently at 90% for the last 10 or so years. Part of that for commercial properties, they also have their business property tax reimbursement, and then also the first $150,000 of taxable value on commercial industrial is actually taxed at the residential rollback, and the state appropriated funds to backfill that amount. So for Cedar Falls, that's about $330,000 that we're budgeting for that. And this is the 4th year, fiscal year 27 will be the 4th year that that credit and backfill is received. I know we've talked about this before, but a policy decision would be how do we continue to rely on that? But I also understand there's lots of property tax legislation being debated right now at the state of Iowa, so this might change anyway. For residential, the rollback went down to 44.53%, so it was at 47.43% before. So the rollback does fluctuate. You can kind of see that it goes up and down, and a lot of that's kind of tied to that assessments, when assessments occur. And as we always talk about, that when the residential rollback goes down, that shifts the tax burden on commercial industrial. The year that it goes up, it switches over to the residential. And just keep in mind that Cedar Falls is about 74% residential, so we're always interested in knowing about the rollback. So, again, keep in mind that, so valuation on residential went up 10%, but the rollback decreased by 6%. So now it kind of gets to what council can do, and that's set the tax rate. So for FY26, the current year we're in, it's at $12.20. What's proposed is $12.29, so that's an increase of 9 cents. And you may recall in March you had some discussion about perhaps lowering that, but the council direction on that night was to just keep that max levy at $12.29 for now. Now again, you can lower it. You can always go down, can't go up. So you still, if you wanted to lower it, if you heard public tonight, some input and that you thought you should lower it, you can sure give staff direction to bring that back for the next meeting, or even at the next meeting, even at the meeting, you could lower it still. And then, so this, just again, to kind of tell that whole story, when you take for residential, their 10% increase on their assessed valuation, the decrease in the rollback, and then take this rate of $12.29 residential properties, we'll see about a 4% increase on their property tax bill, or for a $100,000 home, $23 annually. Now, the letter, everyone should have received a letter. That letter, I think, had, just because of rounding, I think it said 3.97%. So really the letter this year was fairly accurate representation of what will happen on someone. As we know, on someone's bill over the last couple of years, that hasn't been exactly right, but this year it actually pretty close for residential. Commercial, on the other hand, we saw county reassessment of 2% on commercial. The letter did assume 10%. So for commercial properties, the letter will be a little misleading about what commercial properties would see an increase. Their increase, as you can see, they only had a 2%. The rollback stays the same. The rate goes up slightly, so they would see about a 2.75%. Other things I know people are always interested in is where do we compare our rate. So the current year we're in, $12.20, you can see we're the 6th lowest compared to other top 20 cities in Iowa. Budget schedule, we're just kind of highlighted where we're at for tonight. So we're holding this special meeting that you can ask for public comment, and there can be council discussion if you so choose. And then later on the agenda tonight, we will then set that public hearing for the April 20th council meeting. So tonight, really what you need to do is have the public hearing on the rate and close that hearing by the end. You would set the public hearing for April 20th on the regular council agenda tonight. And again, at this point, we would bring forward that proposed levy rate of $12.29 unless there was discussion or recommendations tonight to do something different. And again, this is what the $12.29 is what's been published. That's what was in the letters. But again, you can go down still. So with that, it's really questions by council and if there's public input. So that's where we're at.
Thank you, Director.
Yeah.
Before Jen sits down, we open up public comment. Any council clarifying questions for Director Rodenbeck? Okay, seeing none, we'll open it up to public comment. Anyone from the public would like to speak on this item tonight? Pause in case there's anyone in the foyer. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back for any council discussion.
Can always go down.
Correct.
So I'm comfortable where we are right now until we move on, but as Jen said, they could always go down. I don't want to ask a whole lot of questions, Jen,
Sure.
but off the top of your head, how have we been mapping the past half a dozen years or so? Are we staying right around either, I know like 3 years ago, we either stayed at 0 or we actually went down.
Sure.
Are we staying around 2 to 4%?
Correct, yes, I would agree. That's right in the range of where we've been. I would say for the last couple years, we would say we've been maybe just a little on that higher side, only because, again, we had the 0% increase that I think we've just felt like we're kind of, I don't know if I want to say catch up, but maybe just kind of reestablishing that base. So, but yes, it's in that range that you're talking about. Yep. And if you have things, Councilor Schultz, that you do want to propose, that you want us to bring back for next time, we can sure do that. If you felt strongly you want to give any direction tonight, you can? No? Okay.
Nothing more than what we've talked about,
Okay.
goal setting and
Okay.
in your presentation, so.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the point, I think, Councilor Schultz. I mean, during the goal setting, we spend hours sort of doing the prioritization of things. And I'm happy with how the budget that we put together reflects what we talked about in goal setting. It seems like this is the short part of everything that that's gone into this. And so I think we're keeping it manageable. We're fairly lean compared to other cities. And so I appreciate the work of staff, and I'm happy with it as proposed.
Counselor, any other comments? Okay, so just procedurally then, this will move to our council meeting tonight at 7 to set the public hearing date officially for next council meeting, which will be April the 20th?
Yep.
Okay. No other discussion on this topic tonight or any other. We'll have a committee of the whole at 6:15. Otherwise, right now, I'll look for a motion for adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.